Hey, folks, this clip is brought to you by Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey from Lockstill Distillery. Make your own luck, just like Tennessee football's fast paced Rattle and Snap offense with Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey. Now, this was a fun little announcement. They came out. This is almost nothing about this is set in stone, if anything at all. But here, this was from WAT in Knoxville, although there was an official press release. This was just kind of it's a more succinct version of what Tennessee put out. The University of Tennessee is exploring a public-private partnership to build an entertainment district next to Neyland Stadium featuring hotels, condos, restaurants, retail space. School officials announced on Wednesday that they have begun a request for information on the feasibility and impact of a Neyland Stadium entertainment district along the Tennessee River waterfront. An initial proposed concept would be anchored by a full-service 12-story hotel at the south end of Neyland Stadium with a rooftop bar or amenity space overlooking the home of Tennessee football. What was controversial about this, though, was this proposed tabletop retail and entertainment district on top of the G10 parking garage. And why this is controversial is because a bunch of people tailgate on top of G10, and they were like, so you're just going to put a bunch of stores and stuff over the top of my tailgate spot? And UT went, yep. And that's pretty much the long and the short of it. Again, this is proposed. They're just doing a feasibility study right now. This is years and years and years away at this point. But this would be amazing. But does this bother you at all that a little bit of tradition might get messed with, Zach?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, when it comes to sports, I wouldn't say that I'm a traditionalist. Traditionalist with everything. There are certain traditions though that I love, and I think that's the beauty of college football and sports in general is some of the great traditions in college and even some in professional sports that you don't want to see anything happen to those traditions. And obviously nothing with the game day traditions I don't think would change with this, but I do think the G10 thing, I can understand why people don't like that. I mean, that's a premier tailgating spot. I mean, it's kind of an iconic tailgating spot, really, when it comes to Tennessee and Neyland and going to college football games there. I like the idea of the entertainment district. You're seeing this with a lot of professional teams. The Atlanta Braves, for example, have that around Truist Park. A lot of other professional sports franchises do as well. So I think it's probably going to see more and more of it in college sports because college sports essentially is almost on the same level as professional sports at this point. So I think you're going to see a lot of this, and it's not a surprise that Danny White and Tennessee kind of want to be at the forefront of this. My gut feeling is all this came out on, I think it was Friday. It's kind of gauging not just the interest. I know they have what is it, the RFI to gauge input and to see what developers would like to do and what they think of it. But I think it's also to see what fans say, to see what the response is, and to see if there's any tweaks that need to be made. I don't think they're going to make wholesale changes to their plans because of fans, but I think Danny White's been pretty good about listening to fans. So I wouldn't get too worked up about any of this just yet. I think they're going to find a happy medium with what fans want, what's feasible, what looks the best. I don't think they want to turn Neyland Stadium into, just a piece of commercial property that's full of chain stores and restaurants and all this other stuff where it completely takes away from what Neyland Stadium is. But I do think attaching something close by, kind of like what the Braves have or some other place, I think there's a way that you can make that work and not look terrible. I'm not a developer, so I don't know what that way is, but I do think it's something that they should look into and consider doing. I think they need to be careful, though. I think they need to be careful about where the hotel's at. You don't want these great shots from ESPN or CBS to have this 12-story hotel, almost attached to Neyland Stadium. You don't want that at all, I don't think. So I think you got to be real careful about that. And really, what kind of need is there for a hotel right beside Neyland for college football games? I don't see how that's super beneficial.
It would be a big time, just kind of novelty project. Because here's now this is real Knoxville centric. Let me say, lived in Knoxville essentially my entire life, except for 6 of my 31 years I've lived in Knoxville, and the other ones were in Nashville. And there's a lot to talk about in terms of urban planning here. Because if you've never been in Knoxville, it runs right up next to downtown. That downtown area, I lived directly in the middle of downtown for 2 years, a few years back. I don't any longer, but there are major problems with that downtown area in terms of accessibility. And they've slowly been improving, but like parking can be a nightmare. And just general accessibility to certain parts. Like there are parts of downtown that have stayed dead because there's no parking, or maybe there's an excessive amount of like homeless people in certain areas and some things like that. Like there's just a lot going on down there. And the thing that scares me with this a little bit on game days, this sounds unbelievable. I think it would be incredible if it's executed correctly. Like to your point, listen to the fans, really get feedback, do it exactly how they like it. It also mentions this pedestrian bridge that could go over the river, which I think has been needed for so long. It says a project to build a pedestrian bridge across Tennessee River to connect the arena, Thompson Bowling Arena, with riverfront property recently acquired by the university has also gained momentum. I think that would be incredible, but it has to be done right, because what I could see happening here is that it's incredible on game days, and then the other 350 days a year, it would pop on college or basketball game days too. But all the other days of the year, are you actually going to go over there? Are those
Like
businesses going to be supported?
when it's this time of year and students aren't there, what's it going to look like? Yeah.
Because there's already a pretty nice shopping center that's over by UT's campus. It has a Publix grocery store and all this really nice retail space, and a bunch of it sits empty because nobody goes to it except on game days. Few things go better with a Tennessee sports victory than an awesome whiskey. And actually, me and Jonathan Crompton had a drink of whiskey during the post-game show of every football win this past season. And more specifically, we had Rattle and Snap Tennessee Select Straight Whiskey. You can see it right there behind me. Log Still Distillery has released a new Tennessee whiskey product line called Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey, named after a long-forgotten game of chance. Rattle and Snap is a whiskey for those who make their own luck. There's a 4-year and an 8-year version of Rattle and Snap whiskey. And actually, this one behind me is the 4-year version right here. It's perfect for making your favorite whiskey cocktails or just drinking neat. It's really great stuff. And I mean, you can see it there. The bottle looks great too. You can find Rattle and Snap right now in stores across Tennessee. And Rattle and Snap is also available in Kentucky, Indiana, and Mississippi. So run, don't walk to get yourself some Rattle and Snap whiskey. And follow Rattle and Snap on Instagram at Rattle and Snap Whiskey. That is Rattle and Snap Tennessee Select Straight Whiskey. As college kids can't afford nice stuff. They're college kids. And so there's some to be contended with there. But I think if it's executed correctly, and that's a big if there, if it's executed correctly, this could be incredible. And I'm really excited. And it could be, honestly, a pioneering thing in college sports, because nobody has really done it in college sports. It's been huge in pro sports, as you said. But nobody's doing it on the college level. So I think it could be awesome. But yeah, I mean, I'm a dork about my hometown, my beautiful city here. And as I mentioned, I've lived in downtown. I really care about like that whole area a lot. And this could be amazing for it, or it could kind of end up being a flop. And I don't want that to happen for sure.
Yeah,
so.
and the bad thing is if it's a flop, it's too late to turn around and undo it. Then you've got all this infrastructure that you can't just make it disappear, right? So it could quickly go from being one of the most iconic scenes in college football to an eyesore. And you can't do that. Like that's absolutely the worst thing you can do. So to me, it's a thing that would be really cool if executed properly. Like you said, at the same time, how necessary is it? I mean, you're going to have as long as Tennessee's winning, you're going to have 100,000 fans at every single home game. It's going to be, again, one of the best scenes in all of college football. Like there's nothing like a Saturday, down south. I mean, it's what we talk about all the time. And Tennessee's a big part of that. It's one of the best places you can go watch a football game in October, November, and September. So you don't want to take away from that at all. So I do question how necessary it is, while also recognizing if executed properly, it could be a really cool thing.
Absolutely. Well, we'll leave it there.
I don't have to make those decisions.
Yeah. It's good luck to everybody involved. As I said, listen to the fans.
I would leave G10 alone. I don't like that, because part of what makes it great there at G10 is it's just kind of like, okay, this is the structure we have. We're going to use that. It's just kind of
the people's parking garage.
Yes. Yeah. It's not glamorous. It's not, it's not this glamorous thing, but that's where everybody wants to be. And
Yes.
why would you? It's kind of a romantic feeling when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So you know, make sure you really get feedback from the fans. Do it the right way. But we'll talk about it more. I love talking about stuff like that. If there's more updates throughout the honestly years it'll probably take to get that done, we'll talk about it. But
Future city council member here.
yeah, hey, you never know.
Yeah.